I wanted to follow up as we continue here on a Thursday episode of the Mike Gallagher Show. And, of course, lots of breaking news out of California. We've got weather conditions on the West Coast. We got a snowstorm in the middle part in the Southeast. Earlier in the week, we were visiting with Ryan Mulvey, who's the Policy Counsel for Americans for Prosperity. I so appreciate AFP and the work they do. And, you know, Ryan, as I told you earlier, as I historically do, I'm famous for screwing up the clock. And I had you on the other day, and I messed up the breaks, and we had a short segment, and we were diving into some really good stuff. And like a dummy, I had to look at the old clock on the wall and cut you short. So I said, can you come back and let's follow up? Because I'm so fascinated by the work that you guys are doing with this Chevron Doctrine and the Loper-Bright decision. So if you don't mind, let's reset the table because, you know, last week, AFP sent a letter to Congress outlining how Congress can take back its power after Chevron. Reset the table for us, Ryan. Tell us a little bit about what the decision means, what AFP's involvement is, and why it's significant to our audience.
Sure. So let's step back. I appreciate you having me back. This is great. So, like in 1984, the Supreme Court had a case that came out called Chevron, which basically told judges that when they are faced with administrative law cases, say you sue a federal agency, right? You're in front of a court against an agency, and there's an ambiguous law at issue, or a silent law. The job of the court is to defer to the interpretation offered by the executive branch, offered by the agency. That's Chevron deference in a nutshell. And as you might imagine, over the 40 years that we had the Chevron deference doctrine, it really distorted the separation of powers that our constitutional founders and framers envisioned, because it gave the president a lot more power to say what the law is, which is really what judges are supposed to do. So in Loper-Bright, which is AFP, I'm also we represented fishermen who sued the Department of Commerce, and ultimately we got rid of Chevron deference. And the court said it is the job of judges to tell us what the law is. But that's not all the court did. The court also invited Congress to take back its own authority under Article 1 and to really do the job of writing more detailed legislation and in keeping the executive branch checked, making sure these agencies don't go outside their lanes, which they've had a tendency to do. I mean, this past administration, you've seen some pretty crazy stuff put out by federal agencies. They're trying to grow their power. Getting rid of deference and making sure that...
That's right.
Check.
That's right. Text the... That's right. Text the...
Also get involved. And that's what that coalition letter is really about, that we want Congress to take back its...
For a cash settlement.
Ryan, we're witnessing a lot of 11th hour kind of cram-throughs that the Biden-Harris administration is doing on the way out. It's shocking. In fact, President Trump the other day remarked, they pledged to have a peaceful transition. There's no peaceful transition here. They're doing all kinds of regulations, 11th hour rules, and it's bad. It's really bad. How does the way Congress currently does business allow a departing administration to abuse their power this way? It's because it's dreadful.
Yeah. So the one good thing that Congress has is the Congressional Review Act. So there's a certain period of time in the new Congress where there's going to be an opportunity to disapprove these midnight regulations that are pushed through by the Biden administration. The problem is that you need a separate resolution of Congress for each disapproval. And that is a difficult, it's a long process. So there has been legislation. It's passed the House a couple weeks ago called the Midnight Rules Relief Act. We'll see if if something similar can get through and onto President Trump's table once he takes office. That would allow, that legislation would allow Congress with one act to undo all the midnight regulations. That's the sort of thing that we need, because right now, Congress just can't move fast enough. The Biden administration is going to push in through so much, it's going to be hard to keep track of it.
chatting with Ryan Mulvey. He's the policy counsel for AFP. He regularly works on government transparency matters, and that's why I'm fascinated by how you feel about President Trump and DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. This new DOGE subcommittee in the House and the Senate, we're getting ready to coordinate. There seems like there's a lot of momentum. I mean, I keep saying all week long, I've been saying on the show, there's a new sheriff in town. This is a golden era. We've got the potential to do huge things, great things. What's your take on this change with DOGE? Is there a new focus on Capitol Hill and in Washington, D.C.?
I think so. I mean, just hearing some of my colleagues on the left being so freaked out about DOGE and what they think is going to happen is really amazing. And I've been meeting with folks on the Hill and talking with lots of policy staff. There's definitely a different vibe. I think that it's very exciting what the potential we have with DOGE, and not even just DOGE, but obviously the clear commitment to being serious about taking on the regulatory overreach, the administrative state, making government leaner, actually delivering on promises of limited government. It's an exciting time. It seems that there's a lot of synergy that's already going on between the incoming Trump team and folks on the Hill and folks in the policy space like AFP. I think it's an exciting time to be an American. I think this legal victory with Chevron, I mean, even Vivek and Elon have mentioned it, ending Chevron deference is going to be a big part of taking on and advancing limited government. But there's a lot of work to be done.
Well, that's where we turn to our audience. I always tell people to go to americansforprosperity.org, but in the minute or so we have left, walk our audience through what that means. How can, ordinary citizens, what can we do to help keep Congress one step ahead of bureaucratic overreach and ensure government by the people? When they go to americansforprosperity.org, what can people expect to find? What can we do to be involved?
So, yeah, go to the website, americansforprosperity.org. You'll see all sorts of great information on the policies that matter and what needs to change so that we have a more prosperous America. Contact your representatives. I know you hear that a lot, probably your listeners, but that is an important thing. But even more important, when you see these comment periods on regulations or even deregulatory efforts, it's very easy on a website like regulations.gov that the government runs. Let your voice be heard and tell agencies that you support the president's deregulatory efforts, that you want to see red tape cut back. Get involved and tell others all about this.
Ryan Mulvey, Americans for Prosperity, thanks so much for joining us. Keep fighting the good fight. Americansforprosperity.org, americansforprosperity.org.